Hey guys, it's Ron today for you a book review. Today, I almost said first up tape of the day and I forgot we're not doing that anymore. But today we're going to be reviewing The Long Walk by Stephen King. It's weird that I haven't reviewed this book yet because not only is it my favorite book that I've read 10,000 times, but I've made these long discussion videos about certain parts of it that like I'm doing an English lecture or something like that. But I've never actually sat down and done like a spoiler-free review of the book. I've done a lot of things about this book. None of them have been spoiler-free. So today that's what I'm going to do. We're just going to sit down. We're going to talk about The Long Walk in a spoiler-free review fashion. So first up, quick synopsis. If you are unaware, The Long Walk is a dystopian novel written by Stephen King when he was about 19 years old, which, by the way, still makes me mad and always will. It follows this world where every year 100 boys go on this long walk, which is like a competition where they start at the border between Maine and Canada and they walk all the way down until there's only one of them left. You go below 4 miles an hour, you get 3 warnings, you get shot. You go for the shoulder, you get shot. You have to walk until you die. There's no stopping, no sleeping, no slowing down, or you get shot. The main character in this one is this kid, Ray Garrity, who is from Maine because it's a Stephen King novel, and him kind of making relationships with the other guys on the walk and seeing them die one by one. It's not a spoiler, it is practically, I mean, like, this is OG Battle Royale Hunger Games type of shit, you know, like, Koshin Takami actually named The Long Walk as one of his influences when writing Battle Royale because he's a better person than Suzanne Collins. So, like I said, this is my favorite book and I've done so many videos on this one before. So if you have read the book and are looking for more in-depth thoughts, I did one that was like talking about the characters a long time ago. I think I was a senior in high school. And I've done a bunch of them where I'm just talking about different certain elements of the book. The characters and the writing. Okay, so the main thing with this, first off, unfair how young Stephen King was when he wrote this. Like, my God, this writing is not something that I expect from a 19-year-old. Jesus Christ. But the characters are really what make this book for me. I have been since day one. I did have some straying, but since day one, it's been Barkovich has been like, I honestly think that if I think too hard about it, I do kind of end up thinking like, oh right, I did just adopt his mantra. Not dance on your grave part, but you have to pace yourself, you have to focus on yourself, you have to have a plan as kind of a, I kind of took that to heart. And it's weird to think about because I do not really plan. If you know me at all, you know that I just run on instinct when it comes to major life decisions. But I make little plans. I make lots of little plans all the time. So there's that. But the characters, I mean, even beyond Barkovich, Baker is beautiful. Abraham, Collie Parker, McFries. My God, McFries. I know that there's a whole thing where some people say McVries, some say McFries. I say McFries because I think McVries sounds stupid. So I say McFries and you're just going to have to deal with that because I'm not changing it. But the whole, like, this book is just full of just all these characters that I've known since I was like 14 years old. So I'm just like, I just feel so much love for them. They just feel like like how I always mention how Stephen King books feel like home. These characters feel like family almost at this. Like I said, like this book has honestly shaped my life in a weird way. Like it is just the characters. It's Barkovich. It's Baker. Baker, by the way, is so weird. I mean, I know I've talked about this before. I'm not going to talk about that much, but Baker with his whole weird death obsession. It's interesting that King chose that one. I can and have gone on for hours about this book and the little intricacies of this book because the amount of times I've read this book is honestly, like, I don't even know how many times I've read this book. It's that high. Like when I was in high school, I read this book. I read it. It was in a bind up that had all the Bachman books. It was Rage, The Long Walk, Roadwork, and The Running Man. Roadwork was right after The Long Walk, and I was not a fan of Roadwork for the longest time. So the first time I read Roadwork, I just finished The Long Walk and it was amazing. So I read the first chapter of Roadwork. Go back and I reread The Long Walk. I read the second chapter of Roadwork. I go back and I reread The Long Walk and just kind of on and on and on. But that is pretty much how this story has gone for me. Like, it is honestly, I don't feel like I talked about much honestly. I mean, obviously the plot is they all kind of walk and die off one by one, but the real meat is in the characters and the discussions that they have. This is also a very focused in on Garrity's kind of inner monologue a lot of the times, which is very interesting. Garrity is very much an everyman main character. Like, he's not as dynamic as a lot of the other ones. But he's an interesting one to read from, because I think honestly, if you're in like McBride's head, you'll be just distracted by whatever the hell he's got going on. So it was a good choice of him having the everyman be the main character. But yeah, overall, this book is my favorite book of all time for a reason. It's fantastic, and I love it. 5 out of 5 stars. There's no reason why it would be